My son's wrestling coach forced him to cut 40 pounds in 2 weeks using dangerous methods, permanently damaging his kidneys. When my son collapsed during a match, the coach blamed his lack of commitment. I spent everything on dialysis treatments. The coach's own son just started having kidney problems at age 16. I haven't stopped shaking since I started typing this, so if I ramble, sorry. My name's Mark, 42, male. I've got one son, Tyler, 16. He used to be the kind of kid who lit up every room. Straight A student, goofy laugh, obsessed with pro wrestling since he was 10. When he finally made varsity wrestling, it felt like everything he'd worked for was paying off. That's where Coach Daniels comes in. He's in his late 40s, the kind of guy who still acts like his glory days never ended. He wrestled in college, never went pro, so now he lives through his students. Everyone in town worshipped him. Parents bragged if their kids survived his training. I wanted to believe he cared about Tyler. Hell, I trusted him. Tyler wrestled at 165 lbs naturally. Healthy, strong, not overweight at all. But Daniels wanted him in the 125 class because he thought Tyler could dominate there. 40 pounds. 40 pounds. My son was 16 years old, still growing, and Daniels basically told him he'd never be great unless he starved himself into that weight class. At first, Tyler tried to brush it off, but Daniels started benching him during practice. Made comments like, "You'll never be a real competitor if you can't commit." The other boys started parroting it. Commit or quit. Peer pressure, humiliation. My son, my sweet kid who just wanted to belong, decided to do it. I found out weeks later that Daniels had given him tips. Wear 3 sweatsuits under his clothes, run miles in the gym sauna, spit into bottles to lose water weight, don't eat more than a granola bar a day. Tyler kept it from me. I thought he was just tired from school and training. His cheeks hollowed out. His skin turned this pale gray. I begged him to tell me what was wrong. He just whispered, "Dad, I have to do this, or he won't let me wrestle." The breaking point, God, I'll never forget it, was at a Friday night match. Tyler stumbled onto the mat, barely standing. 2 minutes in, he collapsed. Just dropped like a rag doll. His body convulsed, his lips cracked white. I jumped the barrier screaming his name. Paramedics swarmed. Daniels? He didn't even kneel down. He just shouted in front of the whole crowd, "This is what happens when you don't commit." My son was taken away in an ambulance while his coach blamed him for not starving enough. His kidneys had failed. 16 years old, and his kidneys were fried because some washed-up coach decided his worth was tied to a number on a scale. We've been on dialysis since. I've sold my truck, my tools, maxed every card. I sleep in plastic hospital chairs, hold his hand through treatments, pray for a transplant that never seems to come. Daniels never once called to check on him. Not once. And here's the sick twist of fate that's been eating me alive. Daniel's own son, Cody, just turned 16. And guess what? He's suddenly having kidney problems. I don't know what that says about the universe, but I'll admit this. Part of me feels a flicker of satisfaction. Not because I want a kid to suffer, God no, but because maybe now Daniels will understand what he did to mine. And maybe, just maybe, it's the start of me finally getting my revenge. After that night at the match, everything moved fast and slow at the same time. Fast because doctors were shouting orders, hooking Tyler to machines, rushing blood work. Slow because I sat in that ER, watching tubes snake out of my boy's arms, trying not to lose my mind. The nephrologist told me bluntly, "Your son's kidneys are permanently damaged. He'll need ongoing dialysis until a transplant." Just like that. No warm-up, no soft landing, just permanent damage. When I told Daniels, because part of me stupidly thought maybe he'd feel guilt, or at least responsibility, he laughed. Laughed. Told me kids these days don't have the discipline he had back in college. Then he had the audacity to say, "If Tyler didn't want it enough, that's not on me. Maybe he's just not cut out for the sport." I wanted to break his jaw right there in the school gym. Instead, I walked out, shaking so bad I almost dropped my car keys. That's when the money spiral started. Dialysis isn't just hard on the body, it's brutal on the wallet. Insurance covered some, but the co-pays, the meds, the constant travel, it ate us alive. I sold my truck, my tools, every spare thing in the garage. I picked up night shifts at a warehouse after my electrician job just to keep up. My life became this cycle: work, hospital, collapse in a chair, repeat. And the worst part? Daniels kept coaching like nothing happened. He never told the team the truth. Instead, he spread this story that Tyler burned out and quit because he couldn't handle the grind. Kids Tyler had trained with since middle school started avoiding him. The whispers killed him more than the needles did. I still remember one night. Tyler came home from dialysis, skin yellow under the kitchen light, and asked me, "Dad, am I weak?" That broke me. My son had his organs failing from torture disguised as training, and he thought it was weakness. Meanwhile, Daniels paraded his own son, Cody, around like he was the golden child of wrestling. Cody wasn't even good, but Daniels pushed him hard. Same tactics, same obsession. The town praised the discipline of the Daniels family while my boy sat in a recliner hooked to a machine. But karma doesn't miss forever. 3 months ago, Cody collapsed during conditioning. Word spread fast. Kidney issues. Not as catastrophic as Tyler's, but serious enough that they pulled him from competition. Daniels tried to downplay it at first, called it a minor medical setback. But I knew. I knew exactly what was happening. And for the first time in years, I felt something like power stir in my chest. I wasn't done suffering. Tyler sure as hell wasn't done suffering. But Daniels? His perfect little empire was starting to crack. And I decided I wasn't going to let that crack close. Don't forget to subscribe. Cody's collapse should have humbled Daniels, but instead, it made him worse. He doubled down, started preaching about how real athletes push through pain. He dragged Cody back into training way too soon, posting videos online of grit sessions where the kid looked like death warmed over. The man was so obsessed with his legacy he couldn't even protect his own son. Meanwhile, Tyler kept getting weaker. Dialysis 3 times a week. Nausea. Headaches. His grades slipped. Friends stopped coming by. Kids don't know how to sit in a room with someone hooked up to a machine. I watched him fade, and every time I thought about Daniel strutting around the gym like nothing happened, it made me want to tear the whole building down. The first crack between us and the town came at a school board meeting. I showed up, brought medical records, proof of Tyler's diagnosis, the timeline. I told them Daniels encouraged my son to cut 40 pounds in 2 weeks. I laid it all out. And you know what they did? Nodded politely, thanked me for my concern, then praised Daniels for years of dedication to our athletes. They said weight cutting was part of the sport. I lost it. Slammed my fist on the table so hard the microphone screeched. My son's kidneys are gone because of this man, and you're calling it dedication? Security dragged me out while Daniels smirked in front of everyone. Word spread fast. Suddenly, I was the crazy dad, the one who couldn't handle his kid not being tough enough. Parents whispered at the grocery store. Someone keyed "quitter" into the side of my car outside the hospital. But then karma cracked wider. Cody ended up in the same dialysis center as Tyler. First time I saw him roll in, pale and shaking, Daniels trailing behind with that fake calm look. It was like watching the universe finally point its finger. Tyler noticed it too. He didn't say a word, just stared at Cody across the room. But when he looked at me, I saw it. A flicker of fire. I thought the sickness had burned out. That night, Tyler whispered, "Dad, what if we don't just let this slide?" And in that moment, I realized revenge wasn't just mine anymore. It was ours. Cody started showing up at dialysis more often, which meant Daniels had to sit in the same waiting room as me. For the first few sessions, he kept his head down, but I could feel the tension. He knew I wasn't going to let him forget what he'd done. One night, after Tyler's treatment, Daniels cornered me by the vending machine. His voice was low, but shaking. "You think this is funny? My son doesn't deserve this." I stepped closer, close enough for him to smell the stale coffee on my breath. "Neither did mine. But you called him weak. You told a crowd of people his body failing was lack of commitment. How's that taste now?" For the first time, I saw him crack. His jaw clenched, his eyes watered, not with guilt, but rage. He shoved the machine so hard it rattled, and nurses came rushing. He stormed out, dragging Cody behind him. That was the first confrontation, but not the last. The breaking point came at the regional wrestling banquet. Daniels insisted on attending, dragging Cody along even though the kid looked ghost pale. He was supposed to give a speech about discipline and resilience. Tyler begged me to go. "Dad, please, make him face it." So I did. We sat in the back while Daniels strutted onto the stage, microphone in hand, talking about how wrestling builds character and how adversity makes champions. He had the nerve to use Cody as his example. Even when my boy got sick, he never lost his commitment. That was it. I stood up. "Your boy's sick because you did the same thing to him that you did to mine." The room went silent. Every parent, every kid, every Booster Club donor turned. Daniels froze, face red, microphone trembling in his hand. I didn't stop. I laid it all out. Tyler's collapse, the 40-pound cut, the medical reports, the dialysis. Then I pointed at Cody. "Look at him. You broke him too. And you want to call that discipline?" Cody's eyes filled with tears. He shoved the microphone away from his dad and muttered, "He's right." Then he walked out. The place erupted. Parents whispering, some standing, some glaring at Daniels. He tried to yell over the noise, tried to blame me, but the damage was done. His own son had walked out on him in front of the entire community. Tyler squeezed my hand under the table. For the first time in months, I saw pride in his face instead of shame. And for me, it wasn't enough yet. Not even close. But it was the first real fracture in Daniel's empire. Don't forget to subscribe. Update. Wow, I didn't expect the last post to get that much attention. I've been up half the night reading comments, DMs, even a few emails from people who've gone through the same kind of wrestling weight cut hell. First off, thank you. Tyler read some of the supportive ones and smiled for the first time in weeks. He said, "Dad, people actually get it." So yeah, thanks for that. Some of y'all are savage, though. I saw the ones saying, "Beat the coach's ass in the parking lot," or "Salt his lawn with kidney stones." Not gonna lie, the mental image got me through another dialysis session. But here's the thing. I don't want prison. I want Daniels to live with this. A lot of people asked what happened after the banquet. Well, Daniels tried to spin it. He went up to the board claiming I ambushed him, that I was harassing his family during a private event. But the part he can't spin is that his own son, Cody, walked out on him in front of everyone. That moment spread like wildfire. Kids filmed it. It's all over Snapchat, TikTok, even Facebook where the parents gossip. Now, the whispers aren't about Tyler being weak. They're about Daniels breaking his own boy. I've had 2 parents quietly reach out and say they regret letting their kids cut weight under him. One mom even cried on the phone. So, yeah, the tide's turning. Slowly, but turning. Some of you said I should just let karma do its work with Cody's health. Trust me, I see the irony. But watching Tyler suffer, I know I can't just sit back. Daniels needs to feel it, publicly, personally, in a way he can't wriggle out of. And yeah, I've already got something in motion. Nothing illegal, nothing that'll get me locked up. But let's just say Daniels has spent his entire career hiding behind an image of being this tough love savior of boys. I'm about to burn that image to the ground. More soon. After the banquet fiasco, Daniel's image started bleeding out. Parents whispered, kids side-eyed him in practice, but he still clung to that podium like a man drowning with a brick in his hands. He doubled practices, screamed at kids harder, shoved Cody into the spotlight, even though the boy could barely jog. It was pathetic and dangerous. That's when I decided to strike. Tyler still had friends on the team. One of them slipped me videos from practice. Daniels making kids run in sweatsuits, forcing them to weigh in, screaming, "Pigs don't win." Same garbage that destroyed Tyler. Only now it was on camera. I didn't dump it online right away. Too easy. Instead, I contacted the State Athletic Commission, sent the footage, Tyler's medical records, and my testimony. Then I called a local reporter who'd been sniffing around since Tyler collapsed. She'd wanted a scoop back then, but Daniel's reputation had scared her off. Now, with Cody sick and videos of kids spitting into bottles, She bit hard. The article dropped on a Friday afternoon. Wrestling coach accused of dangerous weight-cutting practices after teen hospitalized. Front page of the local site, photos of Tyler hooked up to dialysis, clips of Daniels screaming. The timing was perfect. Just before the Saturday tournament Daniels was set to host. By the time the first whistle blew, the gym was chaos. Parents stormed the floor, demanding answers. One dad shoved Daniels against the scorer's table. Mothers pulled their boys out mid-warm-up. Kids refused to wrestle. And in the middle of it all, the reporter showed up with a cameraman. They caught Daniels red-faced, screaming, "This is fake news. Weak parents raise weak sons." While Cody sat in the bleachers, pale as a ghost, refusing to look at him. That footage went viral in a way small-town sports never do. Overnight, Daniels wasn't a legend. He was a lunatic. Comments poured in. Child abuser, glory hound, man who broke his own son. And then the hammer dropped. The athletic commission suspended him pending investigation. When I told Tyler, he didn't cheer. He just leaned back in the recliner, let out this long, shaky breath and whispered, "He can't hurt anyone else now." For me, it was more than that. It was justice. Not finished, but started. Because Daniels wasn't just losing his job. He was losing the only identity he'd ever had. And I was going to make sure that loss echoed every single day he had left. Once the suspension hit, Daniels completely lost it. The man unraveled like a live wire. First, he stormed into the high school unannounced, demanding to speak at an assembly. Security escorted him out. He shouted in the parking lot about snowflake parents ruining the sport, and kids filmed him screaming until his face turned purple. It spread online within hours, another nail in his coffin. Then he turned his rage on me. Late one night, I woke to headlights sweeping across my living room. Daniels was parked outside my house, laying on the horn. Tyler was asleep on the couch after dialysis. I bolted outside before he could wake up. Daniels leaned out his truck window, veins bulging. "You think you won? You think you destroyed me? My son's sick because of you, because you poisoned this town against us." I told him to leave before I called the cops. He gunned the engine, tore down the street, and I thought that was the end. Until I found my tires slashed the next morning. The cops took a report, but of course nothing happened. Small town, small politics. Daniels still had allies. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I wanted him to keep digging his grave. Meanwhile, Cody stopped showing up to practice altogether. Word got around he'd refused dialysis once, telling his mom he didn't want to end up like Tyler. The tragedy of it all hit me sideways. Daniels broke his own son so badly the kid would rather die than live hooked to a machine. And yet, Daniels still wouldn't admit fault. At a school board hearing, he burst in uninvited, red-eyed and shaking, shouting that his coaching methods were tradition, and parents like Mark are softening a generation. He pounded the podium so hard his watch flew off. Parents booed. One mom screamed, "Your son is sick because of you." Daniels lunged toward her, and two officers dragged him out while he kicked over a chair. That was the night everything flipped. He wasn't just suspended, he was banned. The school board voted unanimously to terminate his contract, and the athletic commission announced a permanent ban on him coaching anywhere in the state. And just like that, the empire was ash. Tyler and I sat in the kitchen that night, quiet. He finally said, "Dad, he can't hurt anyone anymore, can he?" "No," I told him, "not anymore." But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Daniels had nothing left to lose, and men like that don't just fade away, they explode. Update 2. Didn't think I'd be back this soon, but things escalated fast. First off, holy hell, you guys are wild. I read through hundreds of comments on the last post. Some of y'all were like, "Mark, you played it perfect. Slow, surgical, public humiliation." Others were basically writing me full scripts on how to salt the earth around Daniel's house. I even got a DM that just said, "Concrete his mailbox shut." Not doing that, but damn the creativity. So here's where things stand. Daniels is done, fired, banned. The guy went from town hero to pariah in less than a month. His big blow-up at the board meeting went viral. There's even a clip with 40,000 views where he screams, "Snowflake parents," while a mom yells back, "You broke your own son," and the whole room gasps. I'm not gonna lie, I've rewatched it too many times. But here's the twist. Daniels isn't crawling away quietly. He's unraveling in real time. He's shown up outside my house, slashed my tires, and tried to spin everything like I masterminded some conspiracy against him. Meanwhile, Cody, man, the kid looks broken. Tyler and I saw him at dialysis again last week. He wouldn't even meet his dad's eyes. He just muttered to a nurse, "I don't want to end up like him." A lot of you said the sweetest revenge would be letting Daniel stew in his own failure. And trust me, I get it. Watching him crumble is like watching a building collapse in slow motion. But here's the thing. This man isn't just suffering quietly. He's lashing out, dragging Cody through hell, trying to paint me as the villain. And if he keeps coming at us, I'm not just going to sit back and watch. So yeah, consider this the calm before the storm. He's circling. He's loud. He's desperate. And I've got one last move that's going to end this saga for good. Stay tuned. Daniels didn't go quiet after the ban. He went feral. First it was drive-bys, him idling past my house at night, windows down, just staring. Then it escalated. One morning, Tyler and I walked out to find our mailbox ripped out of the ground and tossed into the street. A week later, someone spray-painted "coward" across my garage in red. Neighbors saw his truck creeping around, but of course no one wanted to get directly involved. Cody stopped showing up to dialysis altogether. His mom, Daniel's wife Lisa, called me in tears one night. Said Cody was refusing treatments, said he didn't trust any of them. She admitted straight up, "Mark, I think my husband destroyed him." Hearing that out of her mouth, his own wife's, was proof the empire was gone. But Daniel's? He still had one last performance in him. It happened at the next wrestling meet. He wasn't supposed to be anywhere near it, but sure enough, he stormed into the gym like a madman. Shoved past volunteers, grabbed the microphone mid-announcement. His eyes were bloodshot, hair wild, shirt half untucked. "This sport is dying because of weak parents," he bellowed. "My son is sick because of lies, because of cowards like Mark Stevens." He jabbed a finger at me in the bleachers, spittle flying. The gym froze. Every parent, every kid, silent. I stood up. Walked right to the edge of the mat, slow, steady. Tyler was behind me, pale but standing. "You want to talk about sons, Daniels?" I shouted back. "Mine's hooked to a machine because of you. Yours is refusing treatment because of you. You didn't build champions, you broke boys. Including your own." And then, like some divine script, Cody stepped forward from the back of the bleachers. He looked frail, like he could collapse, but his voice carried, "He's right. You ruined me. You ruined him. You ruined everything." The crowd gasped. Daniels lunged toward him, screaming, "Don't you dare!" But Cody shoved him away so hard the microphone clattered across the floor. The cops, who'd been waiting, anticipating trouble, rushed in. They grabbed Daniels as he thrashed and cursed, dragging him out of the gym while he kicked over a chair and shouted about conspiracies. The place erupted, not in cheers, not in boos, just stunned silence. Then a wave of whispers. Phones came out. Cameras flashed. Daniels wasn't just finished. He was humiliated, caught on tape trying to attack his own son in front of the entire community. Tyler gripped my arm, trembling. "Dad, it's over." Not quite, I thought, but close. Very close. Daniel's arrest at the meet was the final straw. The footage spread across every screen in town. Him screaming, shoving his own son, getting hauled out in cuffs while Cody stood shaking. Whatever supporters he had left vanished overnight. Sponsors pulled funding from the wrestling program. The school cut ties completely. His name went from legend to don't say it in front of the kids in a matter of days. But the real hit. Cody moved out. Lisa packed his things and took him to her sister's place. She filed for separation a week later. "I can't protect my son with him in the house," she told reporters. That line made headlines too. Meanwhile, Daniels spiraled. The man who once strutted like a king now wandered town in the same dirty hoodie, muttering about conspiracies. Someone saw him drinking alone in his truck outside the gym parking lot, staring at the doors like he still owned the place. For me and Tyler, life didn't magically heal. Dialysis was still 3 days a week. The bills were still crushing. But for the first time, Tyler wasn't ashamed. He walked into school with his head up because everyone had seen the truth. The whispers about him being weak? Gone. Now they whispered about Daniels. The final moment of closure came 3 weeks later, in the dialysis center of all places. Cody was back, this time without his dad. He sat across from Tyler, hooked up to the same machines. They didn't talk much, but at one point Cody looked at him and said quietly, "I'm sorry for everything." Tyler nodded. "Not your fault." I just sat there, blinking back tears, realizing the two boys this man had broken were now sitting side by side, stronger than him by simply surviving. That's when I knew the revenge was complete. Not because Daniels was humiliated, not because he lost his job, his family, his reputation, but because the one thing he'd spent his life trying to build, this warped idea of legacy through his son, was shattered beyond repair. Cody wanted nothing to do with him. Tyler stood taller without him. His name would never inspire fear or respect again. Daniels wasn't just beaten, he was erased. And that's sweeter than any punch I could have thrown.